So next up, I will quickly introduce our next speaker, Dr. Asna Husin. So let me give you a brief bio. So Dr. Husin teaches philosophy of education and Islamic civilization at Ar-Raniry State Islamic University in Indonesia. She currently serves as a visiting scholar at the McLean Center for the Study of Culture and Values at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., and she's continuing her research with the Nonviolence International Organization in Washington, D.C., working on cultural resources for Islamic peacebuilding and history of Indonesian Muslim communities in America. She also participates in academic conferences worldwide and writes on Islamic peace, human rights, and gender equity. So I'm extremely pleased and honored to have her take the floor now and share with us your wisdom.
Thank you, Mariam, for your kind words, and thank you for that introduction. I would like to share my screen. Hopefully, can you see it?
Not yet.
This is something. Not yet. Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. I think this is. Is it? Oh, I think I am in trouble. Okay. Share. Okay. This is the one I would like to share. So, but anyway, if I hope I will be. What is that? Let me start again.
You were able to share, but you were sharing the Zoom link. So I think
something else, yeah? Okay. Yeah. Let me close all other things. Yeah, this is what I'm having. Yeah, this is, oh my God, I don't hope I will be able to. Okay.
No worries.
Let me try again. This is, okay. Let me just close all other things, and so I have too many things open probably. Okay.
I wonder if Dr. Husin has closed connection with us. An alternative might be that Mariam, if she were to send you the presentation, you could share it.
Yeah. Let me send her a quick email. I guess while we wait, if anyone had any other questions or comments for the previous presentation, because I think you covered a lot, and it was extremely insightful. And I think it's an important distinction to note kind of the intersection that goes into youth wanting to engage, and then also kind of the identities of whether they're part of a majority group, a minority group. And okay, well, I see Dr. Husin is coming back. Let's see.
I still having trouble disable.
Do you, Dr. Do you want to email me your PowerPoint and I can share it for you?
Okay, so why don't I do that? Okay, I don't know what happened. Okay, let me do it quickly. And sorry for that. And I'm
problem.
Okay, Mariam. Okay, so big. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't like this. Okay. Oh, not research. PowerPoint. Okay. Mariam, I just sent it to you. Hello, Mariam.
Yes, let me
I
see.
have just sent it to you. Did you get it? Forgive me for
not
that.
Yet. No, you're fine. Let me see if I receive it.
But anyway, let me just start. But I want to make sure I get this the screen to you. Did you get it or not?
Not yet.
Let me try one more time. Okay.
Yes, I just received it. I will start
Oh,
sharing.
you did. Okay,
Yes.
great, wonderful. Thank you. While waiting for my screen to appear, first of all, I would like to thank all of you at ICRD for inviting me to be part of this very important conversation. And I would also like to thank especially my dear friend, Martin Miller, because we actually met years ago when I was still very active with my peace education program that I led for more than 11 years. And that program, I'm not talking about that program here. That program actually created a number of peace manuals, and we trained teachers, and we implemented the manuals reaching nearly 100,000 students across Aceh province. That is an additional introduction about myself. Can we move to the next screen? Yeah, there are 3 points I would like to talk today. First, I will begin with the, background, and then I'll start. This is actually the question raised by my student, and we discuss in a number of class. Does Islam promote violence? So I will reflect on my students' views. And then the third point, I will speak on the way forward. Can we move, Mariam? Thank you. To the next screen, yeah. So what are the background ideas behind student interest in discussing this? I mentioned earlier that for more than 11 years, I was very active in peace education. So when we finished that project and I returned to my university, I could not forget what I have learned and what I have done with peace education and nonviolence. So in a way that is and was my cup of tea, so that I bring this issue all the time, even into the classroom. So the background ideas, while students were interested in this issue, first of all, I mean, they are very unhappy to hear that Islam has been associated with radicalism, extremism, terrorism, and many other isms. However, they do agree that there is a widespread conservatism within Islamic communities, including the one in Aceh. So they recognize that even though they are not happy with radicalism, extremism, and especially terrorism, they are also aware of this Islamic phobia, not just in the West, but including in the Muslim majority country. We'll speak about this a bit more, in the next few screens. So this, in the context of a Muslim majority country like Indonesia, when they talk about the issue of Islamic phobia, there is a really blurred demarcation between piety and extremism. They tend to associate piety with extremism and radicalism. This is the sense of issue discussed by my students. So then another background, who are these students? These students, their number 361 students involved in what I call the modernity project I have from 2020 to 2022. Now I'm still having that project with a slightly different discussion. So they took courses on introduction to philosophy, Islamic spiritual and intellectual studies, and philosophy of knowledge. So these 361 students are all, taking all these 3 classes with me. So within those 3 classes, we discuss the issue of violence, Islam and violence. Can we move to the next one, Mariam? Thank you. So what this is my second point, basically, the issue, does Islam as a religion promote violence? So, and the student answered no. Does Islam condones violence? The answer is the same, in the negative. Then, does Islam permit violence? The answer, yes, but on issues of legal certainty. So you cannot go and kill others because that is not the issue of legal certainty. What are the issues? Some of the issues discuss self-defense, protection of life. In that sense, unlike Christianity, for example, if you slap on the left cheek, you give the right one. In Islam, you respond. If they abuse you, you respond. So that Islam does permit, and students recognize that. And then, do Muslims commit violence unjustly? And the students also, even though Islam doesn't allow violence against others, but some Muslims do. And like any other religious group or faith communities, they also do. So against the very teaching of their tradition. And then, does Islam permit killing or abuse of non-Muslim? The answer is flat no. But do some Muslims commit these acts against non-Muslim? Yes, some do. But my students recognize they are in the minority. If they are in the minority, why? Muslim amplified as if they are violent people. This is the issue discussed in the class. So they also recognize that historically, and we all know that Muslims were more peaceful. However, today, when Muslims live in the nation state and they are moving towards secularization, Muslims become more violent. The question raised by students, why? Why this is the case? There was a professor at Binghamton University, the late Ali Maghroui, saying the West, they become more peaceful when they became secularized, while the Muslim became violent when they became secularized. That is from the late Ali Maghroui. Can we move to the next? Yeah. So then the question why Muslims are now more violent compared to the Islamic past. There are a number of issues. First, we have to recognize modernity has not been kind to Muslims. Professor Karim Crow, speaking in 2010, here in Washington, D.C. on the issue, did Muslims miss out on modernity? In that he discussed that Muslims are not prepared with this new system imposed from outside their system. So Muslims were not ready to accept, for example, cut off from the transcendent, remove from the concept of immutability. They are not ready for that. And another issue discussed by my student is the role of media. So media has amplified the notion of Islam as a religion of violence. So this is true in Western context, but also the case in the country like Indonesia, when the media is biased against the Muslims. So what is this Islamophobia? This I'm quoting from the UC Berkeley institution. They talk about this as a false fear against Islam and Muslim. Why is this so? And this is fomented by existing Eurocentric and prevailing Orientalist global power structure. For what purpose? to maintain the existing disparities in economic, social, political, and cultural relations. And we see Muslim now more than 20% of the world population. But the disparity when it comes to these issues are extremely great. And also, according to this center, this to rationalize the use of violence as a tool to democratize, to civilize certain countries in the Muslim world. We learn how many wars have been fought by the Western power against the Muslim. This is all an issue when we talk about violence in the Islamic context. Can we move, please? Then the issue of why we also have to remember the destruction of Muslim religious and social institutions. This is truly uprooting Muslim from their culture. In fact, Wa'il Hallaq, in his recent book, Reforming Modernity, he talks about this destruction so colossal, then we can call, he said, this is structural genocide against the Muslim. What it is? The annihilation of all aspects of Muslim intellectual and spiritual system, basically talking about the way of living in the world. So this structural genocide is a real issue. This is a reflect on the issue we raised earlier. Muslims are not ready to be part of this modern system. And then the result of that, in history, Muslims embrace modernity. But now they are uncomfortable. Not all, many are uncomfortable, are averse when it comes to this, diversity. The question again, why? This is precisely the effects of colonialization, dislocation of economic, social, and traditional order. And also Muslims moving towards secularization, but now desecularization. Within this move, there are a lot of confusion, a lot of ignorance, a lot of uncertainty. I'm talking a real issue facing the Muslims. And as I said earlier, in Islam, the issue, the notion of transcendence, God, the supreme power, as the one becomes an umbrella for their worldview has changed. No, men are deciding their destiny. This is part of secularization, and Muslims in the state of confusion also moving toward that direction. So this confusion is an issue of importance when we try to understand violence in the Muslim context. This is, I am not making an excuse for Muslim violence, but truly I am inviting all of us to understand the triggers, the factors that lead to violence when we see now, say, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and in many other contexts. But also we have to recognize the role of the West in the destruction of Muslim spiritual and intellectual institutions raised by Wa'il Hallaq and many others, but also in forging many wars in our contemporary time. So these issues are really being discussed by my student in the class. Can we move, please? And then what is there any way forward? Of course, way forward. What are those? Some of the issues raised in the class, basically, we are now living in the context of modernity. So we cannot say, let us close modernity and return to our old time. No, that is impossible. And students are aware of that. For that reason, they discuss, for example, rather than one mode of modernity, which is Euro-American model, they are talking, to quote Taha Abdul Rahman of Morocco, that we have multiple modernity, Islamic modernity, Hindu, Buddhist modernity with different characteristics. So Muslim history, this is the background we have to understand. Muslim history differs from European history, especially on the issue of religion. In the context of Europe, blood was spilled when the fought against religion. Basically, it was a break against religious institutions. Islam and Muslim history didn't have that, even though some secular Muslim now begin to see that as if Islamic history is similar to European history, but in reality is not. So Islam didn't have that kind of bruise when they see religion and they see their worldview. And second, the West and the rest know often we come to the Muslim world, we want to teach them, we want to civilize them. I think the West, is time for the West also to learn from the East, especially the Muslim world, because there is the need for reciprocal cognitive awareness. The Muslim world has a lot to offer, especially when it comes to this issue of transcendence and knowledge, what you call, not reductionist form of knowledge, but more holistic form of knowledge when they describe the world and existence. And also, majority of Muslims would say no to Islam being associated with violence, and rightly so. As I raised yesterday when Gary was speaking, that the majority of Muslims, like the majority of the world population, are peaceful. But the association of Islam with violence, terrorism, this is the new construction of the old construction being reinforced by media and certain segments of the Eurocentric and these Orientalist institutions. And my next point, Muslim and non-Muslim must work together to counter excessive violence and injustice in our communities. I am not talking violence in the sense just direct war, like what happened in Iraq, what happened in Afghanistan and other places, but I'm talking violence, including, for example, this environmental catastrophe, what Charles Taylor would call rape of nature. This is part of the legacy of our modern West. This is the legacy of modernity. This is a form of violence. Gas emission produced largely by the developed countries, but the country like Pakistan and others pay the price for something they did not create and were not part of it. So this is a violence I'm talking about, not just the direct war, as I said earlier. And also, Muslim and non-Muslim must work together to bring back some sense of transcendence in our society. Charles Taylor discussed this in our modern life. We have so many options. Religion is one of the many options provided to our communities. In that situation, Charles Taylor states, it is very difficult to maintain your religiosity. It is very difficult to maintain your sense of sense of looking up to the reality, the supreme reality, because the pressure of being with others, with the rest, is so strong. So for that reason, I think Muslim and non-Muslim have to work together to understand that transcendence brings us certainty in life, bring us the sense of direction, and missing of that cause violence. This is experienced by the Muslim communities worldwide. And also we have to work together to relearn to be human with the ethics at the core. This is, I'm quoting again Taha Abdul Rahman when he said, Islamic modernity, he proposed Islamic modernity. He said, Islamic modernity should be different from Euro-American type of modernity, because Islamic modernity, where human beings subscribe to ethics, and ethics is the center of their existence. In a way, ethics is the mark that distinguishes between man and other form of creatures, in this case animals, because he argues that reason, intelligence, certain animals do have certain kind of reason, certain kind of akal. However, ethics, they do not have ethics. So ethics, according to Taha Abdul Rahman, distinguishes man and animal. For that reason, we have to be truly humans. We have to have ethics at the core of our existence, at the core of our communal exchange. So, and our engagement. My last point in actually be this understanding of the uprooting of Muslim intellectual past, causing violence in the Islamic world, it really has not been well understood by, not just by Westerners, but by Muslims themselves. So for that reason, some of the Muslims would blame that the crisis of Islam is because of internal factors. Yes, there are certain internal factors, but the major factor, again, quoting Taha Abdul Rahman and Wa'il Halak, is actually because certain new system imposed on the Muslims and they are not ready for that. So I end my presentation here, and I hope I would, I would, I have made it very clear that Islam, yes, experiencing violence. In fact, more Muslims are killing Muslims now compared to non-Muslim killing Muslims. However, this is not because Islam is a violent religion, but rather there are many complex factors contributing to this situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Husin. That was amazing. And I think you went very into depth about the historical context and complexities. Do we have any questions for Dr. Husin?
Yes, Mariam, I have a question for Sophia. Can I ask, please?
Yes. Sorry, who is speaking? Bilal?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, go ahead. And I do want to mention that we do have our breakout rooms today. So just being mindful of time.
Yeah, fine. Sophia, I would like to ask, you have highlighted a very important debate, and actually keeping in view the internal traits of Western culture, especially if you look at the factor of representation and their insistence on the duality and control and instrumentalism and the gaze. These five feature the internal traits of the Western culture, not only in colonialism and modernity, but also in postmodernism, we see the same mannerism. So we cannot say that the postmodernism has become a movement that has surpassed the fixated dogmatic notions inherited from colonialism and modernity, and as against its claim, postmodernism has not divorced the tendency of unlocking the bound subjectivity of the Orient or the other's culture So how do you think when we already know that postmodernism is not able to deal with the profound differences East and West has ever tried to solve? Do you how do you think that is there any possibility for decolonizing, demodernizing, and postmodernizing the human world?
Okay, thank you for that reaction. It's very insightful reaction. I think I would bring back the debate. Taha Abdul Rahman and Wa'il Hallaq engaging. In fact, like Charles Taylor, John Gray are part of that debate, even though, in the case of Taha Abdul Rahman and is not communicating with Charles Taylor, but when you read their works, you realize that they are sharing the same view, similar views. So, can we return to the old utopia, the old system? In the Islamic context, there are groups of people who wants to return to what they call the Khilafah, the old kind, the Caliphate. And it's, they were promoting it. But again, even this group, they were not aware what kind of, Khalifa or Caliphate they were talking. And what had been destroyed, whether it's possible to return. The answer, according to Wa'il Hallaq, is not possible. Because the intellectual institutions to sustain this kind of system is no longer there. And the Muslims, and including other communities of similar kind, also their intellectual institutions, when they have been destroyed, at the moment, they are incapable of creating similar institutions or closely in order to sustain that kind of system. It's impossible. For that reason, Taha Abdul Rahman suggested we have a different kind of modernity. There are many types of modernity: Western type of modernity, Hindu type of modernity, Christian type of Muslim types of modernity. In fact, what he's saying, even within the Islamic context, you can have multiple Muslim modernities, but the core that unite all most types of Muslim modernity is human with ethics. So that is his suggestion. I think this is the ongoing debate. We cannot solve the problem apparently here, but I think it's a very important discussion when we talk about religion and violence. Really, for me, religion is a solution to human existence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Husin. I know there's other questions in the chat, and I see your hand raised, Ashar, but I do want us to really get to the breakout room session since we weren't able to do that yesterday. So I think what I am going to do now is create the breakout rooms. And so essentially what this session is for, we will go, so it's currently 11:34 a.m. Eastern time, and we're going to go until 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern, so around 26 minutes. And so you will be put in breakout rooms, and you're invited to unmute, turn on your camera if you're comfortable, and introduce yourselves, your names, where you're from, your title, and just kind of network and share and continue these conversations with whoever you end up with. There's no obligation, but I think this would be a nice way to build the community that we managed to create with this webinar so far. So I'm going to open that now, and ICRD folks will jump in and out of rooms to say hello and share the work that we're doing as well. So thanks, I'll create that now and then bring you guys back around 12 and we'll do a very quick closing and prepare for tomorrow.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you for, for the opportunity. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks so much. Let's just wait and see if people join.